I'm Al Gordon, a restaurant consultant. Starting a small business requires determination, planning, and stamina. Tonight I sit with 4 small business owners that established their businesses in 2020 to find out what extra drive is needed to get through their first year when the hurdles just don't stop.
Okay, so let's start. Kevin, you decide to open in 2021. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, 2020. So
yeah, decide to open in 2020. I'm already ahead of the game. I'm moving
I
along.
wish I opened in 2021.
Yeah, you decide to open in 2020.
Yeah, so plans were already in the works to be open. So I was looking for such a great envisionment with that area, specifically like in the Finn Hotel, the history behind it, the concept that we were doing. It was just kind of that point where I thought we had the whole formula ready to go, and then the pandemic hit. So part of my goal to open up this restaurant was because I was pretty established with myself in the fire service. I work for Culver City Fire, and I just wanted to take on another challenge, and I got a lot of
You got a challenge. Definitely on a challenge.
So from watching everything take place and unfold, in Los Angeles County, working there in the fire service, and then having to completely change my gears and open up shop in Oceanside, it's been a challenging year to say the least.
Yeah.
But it's been a blessing too. There has been so many upsides that I look at it that I feel fortunate to actually go through this experience, whether you believe me or not.
Okay. Rochelle, touch a little bit about your opening day was the Saturday prior to the closure. What happened with your opening?
So we were planning on doing kind of a grand opening for Easter. So our goal was to open a few weeks before Easter and then ramp up for our grand opening. That was supposed to be our soft launch. Our soft launch is supposed to be a couple weeks and get ready for Easter. So the health department comes out and they're like, yeah, you can open, but everything is shutting down. So you can't technically open, you can only do takeout. So at that point we had to kind of do a reset because obviously a tea room is about the experience. So we had to figure out how to do takeout at that point.
Right off the top.
Right off the top, we started with takeout.
All right, Roy, talk to me. What you got?
Oh my goodness. So, I'm a planner. I love planning things out. I love just looking at spreadsheets, coming up with goals. But with COVID, there's a lot of unknowns. I was planning on opening later on, maybe January, but with restrictions going on in Los Angeles, not knowing how COVID's going, I was like, you know what? I'll open up now, figure it out. And things have been going really well. But there are some difficulties with managing hours, trying to figure out what works best. I know a lot of street traffic is not there simply because of COVID restrictions, but it's a little stressful. It's a little bit figuring it out, but I'm telling you what, the support from the community, the people coming in, it absolutely felt right. People coming in, we do antiques and nostalgic, so when people walk by, they're pointing at our glass in the windows, or they're talking about how their dad used to be a lineman and had those insulators, or it's really wonderful. It's a good experience. I'm happy we opened early.
Okay. Last but not least, Breesa in the building. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, let's tell us about your flower shop.
Well, having a retail flower shop was never on my plan. I've worked retail for other people, but I really only wanted to do the event side of things, starting my own business, and did that 6 years ago, and it's been growing every year. And then the best way to stop an event from happening is to have a pandemic.
Right.
So I've not had so many events
Right.
and weddings, but I kind of feel the same that you guys do, where the surprise of it, I've found so many blessings in it, where I had an event design space that I couldn't do retail out of, and stumbled on the new space here in Oceanside, and it felt so natural and so easy. We live in Oceanside, our parents are from Oceanside, this is where we belong. And then the response that I've had from people who just stumble upon the shop has just been so amazing and motivating, and makes me go, oh wait, yeah, no, I totally wanted a retail shop this whole
Right.
time. This is the plan.
This is the plan.
Yeah, so I've actually found a lot of good come out of it. But yeah, I just feel, I want to say I feel lucky, but I also know I've worked really hard. So I don't think
Yeah,
it's not
that's-
luck.
It's a lot of hard work. It's like there's
Yeah.
so many blessings that come with it,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of hard work that come with it as
Mhm.
well. And I think that's what happens behind the scenes. Like, people don't see the grind that you go through. They see the end result,
Mhm.
but they don't see the hard work that produces that.
So I want to touch on that hard work just a little bit more, because people think hard work is just putting in long hours or covering a shift. You guys tell me, as far as, because when I see a business owner, I think of someone looking at a building from a helicopter. You got to see everything. What streets connect to what street, who's crossing what street. When you're, not to put down employees, but as an employee myself, I just saw my station. You know, as a chef, this my station is set up, I'm ready to serve 200 people tonight, leave me alone. I'm not looking at anything other than that. So let's touch on, what's hard work to you guys? How do you guys categorize hard work?
Mine requires crying a lot. Of
I'm crying. And if you the type of tissue that you use.
Yeah,
Kleenex,
it's just
you know.
this, you
This
know,
is
I'm a
sleeve.
florist, my hands are dirty, so
Got it.
it's just a lot of on my
The sleeve action.
the snotty shirts, and
Okay.
but it helps.
I think the most difficult thing is you're trying so much to help the community and then your employees on top of it, and you're kind of that cog in between it all, is how you kind of see yourself as a small business owner. This is my realm that represents the community, and then the people that are coming in and the people that work with me are my family. And so you're really looking at yourself in that perspective. And I think it's the right mindset to have, but it's really difficult during these times when you're just going up and down, just trying to open a business,
Right.
let alone all of a sudden getting thrown different restrictions left and right, and just try to make sense out of it all. So
And it doesn't make sense.
a lot of
You're
it.
trying to make sense, but you know, there's no logic behind it. So you can't make sense out of something that doesn't make sense.
It's just become such an emotional event for everybody that it takes a toll as a small business owner, I think, because you know, when customers come in, they're also venting. They need a place to finally
That's
relax, talk to somebody, and vent. And that's where we're trying to also be there for. Your employees do it as well. You hear their stories and you know, where they came from. And I feel like as a small business owner, you're always trying to accommodate something. You're always trying to help. How can I make this better or make this realm space better? And it gets taxing after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go home and there's your kids.
Yeah.
They're always there now.
No. I've got 5 of them. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. You know, for me, I heard this speech by this guy, Eric Thomas. He's on YouTube, but he said something like, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And for me, it's more like focusing priorities. Like I tell my kids, you know, I got a high schooler, and for him, he wants to go out and hang out with friends. And I'm like, well, you got to handle your schoolwork and, you know, stuff like that. And with COVID, it's all online learning. So it's kind of like, it's not as important because I'm not seeing a teacher face to face. And for him, I'm like, you know, you want that dream job. You want to go to college, right? Right. And he's like, you know, he's like, but I want to go to the party. I'm like, well, what's more important, hanging out with a friend or getting that schoolwork done so you could reach that goal? Is your goal to be close with your friends? Is your goal to be, you know, going to that college you want to go to? And for me, it's managing priorities. I mean, right now my kids are number one, but that business takes everything out of me. That's clearly number two, and I'm pushing on it.
Yeah, I've always worked hard. I've always, had grit and can grind. And with this, I think because I am so passionate about it, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and start working on something just because it's like, okay, this has to happen, right? And it doesn't feel like work. And I think that's where the lines blur for me, is it doesn't feel like work because it feels like it's such a big part of me that it's like, okay, yeah, this has to get done. And then I can go back to sleep. And then I'll go right back, sound asleep, right? As soon as I get this done, I'm sound asleep. So I've had to get comfortable with that new norm, that this is now how I function, right? It's like, it's not always from 9 to 5 or 9 to whatever. It's like, it kind of just goes and ebbs and flows, and it just happens. And the ideas come at certain times when I just have to act.
I think the biggest thing I learned about myself, because again, like I've always been a hard worker. Mm-hmm. What the hardest part is that there were moments I couldn't work. I couldn't work this year, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't work. And that realization that the momentum, I have to have that in my life. And so the feeling that I was being told that I have to sit stagnantly and just hope for things to go back to normal, that's what drove me insane the first few months of everything being shut down. Like, I have to be moving forward.
I'm gonna say a word, and you guys can chomp at the bit. Whoever goes first goes first. Staffing.
We kind of came out the gates running. It was a great opportunity. We kind of watched all the other restaurants have to truly pivot in the very beginning. It was very surreal. Really makes you think about whether you made the right decision or not. As I started hiring on the staff, and I'm watching them just work their butts off because of our growth, it was so exciting. It was so great to see everybody thrive, and then really lock in on their personalities, and they really do become family. You see them every day, and then the restrictions take place. That's when it gets brutal. I mean, it's hard to even talk about it, but went from 22 to 4.
Staff members. Jeez.
So it's just like
In just the summer, the period of the summer.
no,
Summertime.
from this last lockdown.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so it was crazy. It went from let's keep going. I might have to lay off a couple of people to just full blown. We're going down to 4 people.
Wow.
Jeez.
So
How did you get to that number? How did you figure out that 4 was the number?
I didn't. I just had to keep chopping until the sales reflected the labor costs.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know how to decide. It just started having to whack people. It's terrible. So it's still to a point where, excuse me, it's still to a point where, I'm keeping in touch with everybody, but I'm talking about, families, employees that came from sobriety centers. So, excuse me.
No, we get it. No, we get
Yeah.
it. We get it.
So part of my store, I have these little vendors in my store. And this one girl specifically, she used to work at Chili's. COVID, she got laid off. So now I saw her on Facebook, and she was selling these soaps that she makes, and she's got her little business going. And I let her come in. I don't charge her rent. Whatever she sells, she keeps. Because I've been in those tough situations, so I kind of want to help out. And I was telling people, customers her story, and then other people kept coming to me. And I've got one girl who does succulents. I've got one that does their homemade jewelry, and these are such amazing people. And when I tell them how they've been doing, they're just through the roof, and it makes waking up feel amazing. But there's always that fear. Like, I've got 2 employees on salary right now, but then I've got those vendors that are in here, and they're doing their own struggles. I mean, COVID affected a lot of people in a lot of different industries. Yeah. And, it's like I wake up, I feel happy that I'm giving them good news, but there's always that concern that, what if there is a bigger shutdown?
What are some things you guys wish you guys knew before you guys before you guys started this journey?
Well, this is a completely different industry for me. So I actually don't wish that. I don't think I wish I would have known that this was going to happen, because maybe I wouldn't have done it, you know. And I think doing it has actually allowed me to grow so much that I'm kind of glad that the way it all happened kind of happened the way it happened, right? Because if we would have had any precursor, oh, this is coming, I probably would have pivoted earlier, just been like, let me go do something else. But because we were kind of dumped into it, it was like, okay, you just got to figure it out. But the growth that has come from it, I don't know that I can trade that for anything else. Like I think it was worth it. I think it was definitely worth the amount of growth that I got from this year.
I wish I would have known just how much support you're going to get ahead of time, so I wouldn't have to worry
Right.
about whether customers are going to show up or not. And if you show your outpouring of love for the city, they're going to reciprocate around here tenfold, which they've done, which it's been unreal, right? I think that's why we have hope for our future here, that we're not just I'm gonna throw in the towel, you know, politicians don't like us here, the law enforcement's treating me like this. That's not the case here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like everyone's rooting you on.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, let's go, let's do it. Let's just keep grinding.
Yeah.
So.
When you guys were making these decisions, was any investors or any people that invested in your business determine what you did in your business? Meaning, like, an investor put in XYZ, you know, I think you should do this, whether they have experience or not. Was there any situations where an investor was like, you need to go this direction, and you almost don't have a choice, even though you may know better?
Yeah, I didn't get any investors, and people still try to tell me what to do.
I'm gonna tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Who's telling you what to do?
I it's me and my wife, but I feel like we get so many people in here that have had shops in the past, and, you know, we'll talk for hours, and they'll tell me the direction I should be going, and I'm like, I think, you know, I've got this philosophy: as long as you do good and you put in the hard work, everything will be all right. Like, I feel like, and business has actually been way better than I expected.
Investors, no investors for me. And because I don't have investors, I also was my own contractor because I needed to be able to manage my money. And I found that when I was trying to bring in contractors to do the build out, their numbers were astronomical. And I was like, okay, we're just not gonna do that, and I'm gonna figure this out. So I subbed everything out and just managed the whole process. And I was really blessed that some really good people crossed my path throughout the process that were really effective and was able to get things done. So I knew everybody, and I learned a whole lot about plumbing and electrical and everything as we were going through this process. So every single detail in here I was able to touch because I had to manage it so closely. And I'm glad that I did that, because it was a very personal thing for me. And I think I saved myself quite a bit of money in doing that.
Yeah.
No, we're going through it, because we're, in addition to my shop, my husband losing his job through all this, we decided, let's open a sandwich shop. So we're doing that, where we were getting quotes for contractors for a cabinet build out, $90,000. We don't have anyone giving us this $90,000. So constantly moving forward with, okay, we think we found a guy, and then, well, that's not going to work out. And having to be our own contractors and figuring stuff out has been so much more stressful than we thought it was going to be in that realm. And we're like, the space was already a restaurant. We just need to build a counter. It's going to take 2 weeks. Well, that was 6 months ago, and we're maybe going to open in 2 weeks now. But how much, I think that view we're going to have of our business once it opens is totally different
Yeah.
than if we were hands off the whole time.
Yep.
It, like not having the luxury, I think you kind of have a little bit
Grassroots.
more.
Yes.
When you open a business in 2020 and the government is doing funding and there's different grants and loans and so forth, because you don't have the history of being open and the payroll and so forth, it's like you don't qualify
Right.
for any of that. It almost feels like we're stepchildren. Like we're just sitting here like, why are you guys forgetting about us?
Right.
And it's grant after grant, loan after loan. It's like it just keeps happening. And I think it's interesting that that has been kind of a trend. And I'm just curious if you guys have noticed that, and it obviously hasn't stopped us because we continue to move forward. But it's just something that I think people don't think about. People don't think about the fact that when you've opened in 2020, you don't have the history and you don't qualify.
Yeah,
No one really knows that because no one talks about it.
We had that with my husband's shop where he just tried to get a credit card for it, and they said, "Oh no, you don't qualify because you don't have any business history." He's like, "Yeah, I just started it." Yeah, I need a credit card to start the business. Or we were trying to get one, I don't know what type of loan it was, but it was just like they fund your first 3 months of operating costs, and it wasn't like a government one, it was just a regular business loan. It was months long process. We gave them all of our financials. We told them what the business was. We told them we were starting it right now. And after 3 months, 2 weeks before we were hoping to have it, they said, we're just not funding restaurants right now. And we're like, but you knew it was a restaurant 3 months ago. Like, what? Why? What's? And so going, all right, well, I guess we just have to, like, thanks, moms, for for the money you're loaning us. Like, you can't start something right now and expect it to be how it was a year ago.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
The financial support is very different right now.
Yeah, it was the one like realization I had at some point, like early summer or something, when I knew there was nothing else, but there was no quitting because of the investment that you put in.
Yeah.
There was something that shifted in my brain, and I said, "There's no more rear view mirror. You're taking that thing off.
Yeah.
You're just going."
Because you put so much into it
You
already.
put so much into it already. No one's gonna help you out. You just have to make the best business you can, and hope the community wants what you're selling, basically.
Yeah.
In Northern California, before I opened up 8 years ago, up there, I talked to all the neighboring businesses. I talked to businesses that were similar to mine. I just went in there, bugged the crap out of them every day. I'm like, "Hey, how are your sales today? What do you notice? What trends do you see?" Stuff like that. And it's like by the time I opened, I had projections. I had weekly goals, daily goals, and out here, it's like even when we registered for our business license before we opened up, it's like, okay, how many employees do I plan on having? Oh, I'm not sure. Are we even going to be able to be open? I mean, and it's like I'm trying to figure out projections, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like I don't know what to expect because it's totally uncharted territory. You're reading news headlines, and normally news tries to gravitate towards shocking and businesses going under, people struggling, and it's like you really don't know what to anticipate. And it's like loans and all that funding is not really there, and it's a scary time, but it's been so much more positive. I mean, it's just I didn't anticipate anything near this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the city itself and the people in it. It's just amazing.
Well, my one little pet peeve, my little 2 cents, is that when on my way here, I passed In and Out, and the line was wrapped around.
Yeah,
right?
Chick-fil-A.
100
cars.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So when people say support small business,
Yeah.
it's almost like a catchphrase. I feel it is these days. It's like the eco thing to say. But then we come out of it and we go, that one little place closed. I wonder what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what happened.
Right.
So I try to stay calm when I bring this up, because the same way how he has a burger at his spot, there's a burger next door, or whatever. There's no reason why the same line should be called in. Hey, I'm coming to pick up my burger. Hey, be curbside. there's no excuse for that.
Right.
But I just really feel this catchphrase thing is just, it's really irritating me at this point. And I'm starting to call people out on it. You know, so when you, why didn't that place make it? It's like, you don't want to play this game.
Yeah. When was the last time you went there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately people will go to the Chick-fil-A's and the In-N-Outs daily, almost. I mean, they will do the drive-through daily. It's like you have to do that same touch with
Right.
a small business. Like you can't go once a month and think, oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
I did go once, right? It's like that's not enough. It's like you have to have a regular routine, just like you would have a regular routine at the drive-through. And I think unfortunately people haven't made that connection, which is why there's still a line wrapped around at the fast food places. But honestly, I think that when you're a business owner, you're now conscious of that. So
Right.
part of the goal of doing this is to help people be more conscious of when they make those decisions, those purchasing decisions, to choose, you know, a different path than what they're probably normally used to doing.
Right. All right, guys. Thank you. This is Al with the Let's Get It podcast. I'm here with Bliss Teen Trees in Oceanside, California. These are some of our small businesses in Oceanside, but I highly recommend that you guys check out your small business in your area, whether it's, you know, if you guys have a main street, if you guys have a chamber, all these little places are really, it's a good connect for you guys to reach out to your small business. All right, take care.